Hello and welcome back to Slow Pit Stop. I'm joined by our favorite racing driver in the world, Bianca. Bianca, how are you?
I'm lovely. I'm back home here in the Philippines after I raced in Singapore. So, still continuing on my training, diet, and, driving on the sim as much as I can.
Amazing. Um, what was it like driving in Singapore?
It was such a dream, to be honest. Like I've said on my previous interviews, Singapore has always been, it always had a soft spot for me. I've driven there a lot when I was younger and pretty much grew up there. And to be back here in Asia after a long run in Europe and America, it was amazing. And I got there and went on a 2 week sort of a sprint of doing medias, of meet and greet and community gathering, and just trying to give back to the community because of all the support they've given me. Usually I don't get this opportunity to hang out with all of them and interact. But now I do. I get to have that chance. So it was really amazing. We've done lots of community gathering. I did a lot of speeches and interviews, and even spoke to a lot of inspiring girls communities. So I went to a lot of events, even to ITE college, where I got to share my journey, went on and just really just shared my stories. And the response was amazing. A lot of the girls were very inspired, and of course, we get on to driving the track, which is just phenomenal. Like this year, as I've experienced a lot of firsts, and particularly driving in the night, just amazing. I went on to Singapore, very first practice session, drove in the night. I was just mind blown, really. Like, it's a different type of feeling. It's just so exhilarating. It's so dark, yet so bright. I just can't explain it. And the feeling was amazing. The track was just insane. And, and I think it was a bit difficult. It was a bit tough. That track was very physically demanding, and not just that, it required a lot of technique because it had lots of very slow to medium speed corners that requires good braking technique, good trail braking, and very limited error required because you can easily hit the wall.
So we
And
saw
that
on
of course,
TV that the conditions were very wet. Um,
yes.
and we often hear, people like myself who don't know much about racing, we we often hear, oh, they're taking a wet line there and things like that. How do you have to adjust your driving to compensate for the wet?
Yeah, so another first there was it was my first time driving in really really wet condition. It was just pouring during our qualifying session. Couldn't see a single thing, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I don't even know where I'm gonna go," to be honest, because it's my first time driving behind someone with so much like spray of the water that you have zero visibility or anything. So for the rain, we try to take a wider approach to the corner. So basically, we try to avoid the dry line because that's where all the rubbers are. So rubbers makes the car very slippery because we've got rain tires, and driving on the dry line would make the car understeer a lot. So we try to take a wider line and try to really just avoid the racing line, and that's where the grip is. So we tried doing that, and unfortunately for our qualifying session, it was cut really really short, purely because it was a bit too dangerous to be driving in that condition. And I think that's one of the main reasons why I wasn't able to put in a good lap in the wet, because by the time that I actually was trying to push, they already put on a red flag. So you know unlike the few girls that went on ahead first, they were able to drive on semi wet condition. That's The track was a bit damp, unlike for me when I drove, it was just pouring already. So that's hence the huge time difference. And like I said, I'm very grateful for the opportunity, and I learned a lot from
But you
this
made up for
weekend.
it in the race. You managed to get ahead of three other people.
I
Um,
did.
this is a question I'm going to ask you. We often see, in TV shows like Top Gear and things, they say, if I look at a footballer, I think, okay, if I trained as physically hard enough and learned the skill, I could do that. But I think the difference between a race driver is I can learn all I want on the sim, but in real life, is there a part of your brain that's missing that doesn't feel scared when you're braking at these speeds? Well, how do you manage
No.
that?
The thing is that I've always been very honest, and the thing is, I'm always scared. Like I know it seems like that's not what it looks like when you're driving or racing. It feels like we're so fearless. But to be honest, I'm always scared. You're never not scared, and it's just accepting the fact that it's impossible to not be afraid of anything. It's impossible to not be afraid of crashing. It's impossible to not be afraid of injuring yourself. But as racing drivers, I think you just really have to live with it. You always have to live with the fact that there's a chance that you might, get into an accident where you might crash, and there's that percentage that sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down, that you just have to live with. And the best drivers are the ones that takes the most risk, and they're the ones that are often most rewarded in the end. And I myself, I've always just, you know, I I was born, I was raised in a very culture where I wasn't able to take anything for granted. So whenever I see in a window, whenever I see an opportunity, I just always manage to grab it. I don't let it out of my sight until I have it in my grasp. And I think that's why I've always been, I would say, that's why I think racing has always been my stronger suit. Not qualifying, not practice, because in the race is actually where I get to show, my skill, my craft, passing my racecraft, and I think one of also my strongest attributes would be the starts. I've had lots of good starts this year. Really, really fun, amazing starts that I will always look back to and be like, that was so fun. And that's something that I don't think you can teach. Like, I think you can teach, techniques of driving, you can teach how to be fast, but having that, the initiative in your mind to go for that gap, I think that's just something that one has to have within themselves. And
Well, we saw in Singapore, Max Verstappen went off, Lewis Hamilton went off, so I think we can confirm now that you're better than those two.
no, 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 it's a very difficult circuit. Like I said, smallest mistakes can cost you a
Yeah.
lot. It can cost you the whole race, even. So
You've made a lot of overtakes this season, and I think everybody's aware of the W Series news that the season is ending earlier than expected. We saw that you found out over a Zoom meeting. What are your feelings just now?
I just actually found out last night, and I had a call with Catherine, and of course with all the other girls, and like I've said, W Series. I can't even begin. Like I don't even know where to begin to thank them because they gave me an opportunity. They took a risk on me. When they first met me a year ago, I was a 16-year-old kid from Philippines that no one would, even give take a shot on, but W Series did. And and I thank them for that. I thank them because they allowed me to grow. They allowed me to showcase what I can do, showcase my talent, and they've given me my silver lining, and I'm thankful for that. And it is such with a heavy heart to say that our W Series season this year has ended quite early. Unfortunately, we just didn't have enough time to gather enough funds to bring us to Coda in Mexico. But unfortunately, that is just the nature of motorsport. Racing drivers, they have to live with this uncertainty their whole racing career, whether they're going to make it to the end of the season or not because of financial difficulties. And it's a tough world. Everything can just be gone overnight, and unfortunately that's what happened. And a lot of these drivers has faced this early on in their career, and unfortunately for me, it's my first time experiencing it, so it did hit me harder than others. uh, Maybe because I'd say I'm 17, so I was really heartbroken. But I always try to keep a smile on my face. Like I said, I'm pretty sure this is only the beginning, and a chapter in the W Series might have ended for us, but it just means that a new one is about to open up, and I'm very excited for what the future holds. Really, I mean, we're doing our best now to prepare for next year, and we're doing as much as we can. Yes, yes, I mean that is very, very much. I can't really confirm anything, but I do see it. happening next year. I personally, I know that a lot of people will not just let W Series fade away because of everything it stands for. A lot of people are supporting it. This year we've gained so much interest, so much people watching it, and I know that it's a lot of hard work, but we've got a lot of hardworking people trying to make it happen. So that's all I can say really. Just thankful it happened.
Yeah. How are you planning on spending um, the rest of this year, then preparing for next year?
Well, so it was a bit of a news really. Like you were absolutely shocked that we weren't gonna be finishing off the season because I was really hoping that we were. I thought that we could actually pull through, but unfortunately we couldn't. So now I guess it really caught us off guard because we didn't really have anything planned for the rest of the season because we thought we were gonna make it. So now really we're just taking a day off to, like, if it's only been a day, so we're just trying to refresh and rethink about everything. And there's still a few more months until the end of this year, and I really do think that we can squeeze in something, even a test, just anything to get me back in the seat to prepare for next year. A lot can happen in a few days, and that's for sure, especially in motorsport. And next year we're hoping that W Series will still be, you know, um, working. I mean, it will still be ongoing, but if not, then that just gives us more opportunity to try out other series. And I see that as a big chance or opportunity to grow outside of W Series. Like I said, they've helped me so much and so much more, and I can't begin to thank them. But it is a stepping stone of where we want to be. W Series is not the end goal for us.
We've loved watching you race this year, and I don't know what to say. We just hope to see you back on track as soon as possible, and
Me
we'll be
too. Me
supporting
too.
you all the way. Um,
Thank you.
what was I gonna say? This year, so many amazing moments. What on track moment are you most proud of?
Oh wow. Like I said, I think your first just it's I'm kind of battled between two. Like I said, there's Miami and then there was Singapore. Two of my most favorite tracks. Miami scored my first ever points, first ever race, and then in Singapore where I had my very first night session, night drive, where I did very very well, reasonably well. I was running P10 for the most of the session until we accidentally grazed the wall and ended our session a bit early, finishing up at P14. I think that was really strong for us. We were running P10, P8, very strong, had really good pace. But I think Miami as well was a really good on track moment where I managed to make really good passes that brought me up to P11 and in the end P9. So turned between both, but I was really hoping that Mexico, since it will be a double header, will be an even better race for us. But yeah.
No worries. I'm sure Mohammed's going to be very upset because he's got tickets to Kota and he wanted to come watch you in real life.
No,
Yeah.
I'm
Um.
sorry.
No, no, no. What was I going to say? You mentioned there, this is one of the parts of motorsport, and I was reading an article on ESPN that it is a part of motorsport. Things, funding does disappear, but it seems to be even harder for women in motorsport. Young girls that are watching you and so inspired by you, what advice do you have for them at this time?
you know, Sometimes the reality is even I have a hard time trying to inspire myself. That's why it just amazes me when people say that I get to inspire them because, I'm still only a little girl, and having to deal with all these things, having to deal with, funding getting cut off, not being able to finish off the season. It's tough. It's hard, but even then, only a day after knowing this, I was expecting myself to be sad and gloomy and just, be depressed and all this thing. But, you know, I did the complete opposite. I worked out this morning, pushed as hard as I can in the gym. Now I'm off having meetings with my team, my management, trying to make plans for the rest of this for the rest of the year, and hopefully, be able to get in a few test sessions in the car. Just planning and thinking of the next step and moving forward. And I think that's an amazing mentality that I want more people to have. That I hope that I get to radiate that into more people. I've like someone told me that what you radiate is what you attract, and positivity. I know that this was just a minor bump in our path, and I know that it's definitely not the end of it. And I want to also show people the reality of everything. I've been living this amazing dream, and unfortunately, not all fairy tales are fairy tales. There's still bits of realities where some things don't go your way, and it's how you fight back and stand up, and that's just life, really.
I think it's really
So yeah.
interesting there that you mentioned exercise because when I interned at McLaren with the team doctor there, Dr. Aki Hintsa, he used to train Jensen, Lewis, all these guys, and he once said to me, if you're ever stressed, just exercise for 2 hours. And he used to say, if he felt stressed or his blood pressure was high, he goes, I used to exercise for 2 hours, much better for your mind. Yesterday was World Mental Health Day. How do you find exercise with regard to your mental health? Do you think it's something that helps?
Ah, it's really been my best friend. The gym has been my sanctuary, if not the track. The minute I found out about the news, unfortunately, it was a bit too late to go work out, so I had to wait till the morning to hit the gym. So it's the first thing I did. I worked out. And honestly, it just helped me have a clear mind on how to approach things, because I would never want to approach things with anger or sadness clouding my judgment. I could have went on Instagram and just ranted and be like, I'm so sad that the season has ended and stuff like that, and I didn't want that. I wanted to put out all my anger, all my negativity on lifting, be as angry as I can when I'm hitting those new PR and lifting all those weights. And then by the end of it, when the storm calms down, then you have a clear mind, and you can, have a breathe and really think about everything. And I think that's just really what more people need. And I've been using, working out and exercising as a way of releasing lots of stress, because as a racing driver, or as any human being, we have to deal with a lot of stress. And mental health for me is very important. I think it's above everything else. And I want more people to actually start working out, because it does help.
Excellent, we will do. And
Yeah.
I've been following you on Instagram. Like you said, before Singapore, there was so much stuff that you put on social media, these talks and these community events. For other people that don't follow you yet, let us know where we can follow you.
Well, I'm always on Instagram at RacerPia. I'm on Twitter at RacerPia, and my Facebook fan page, Bianca Bustamante. Very active on all my socials, also on Twitter, where I maybe tweeting a few things, mostly about racing. So it's always a fun platform where I can just express my thoughts, and like a personal diary, really. And aside from socials, I do have my community, the Dark Horse Via, where I would say most active. I'm always there, just chatting with the community, hanging out on VZ, streaming my driving session, or just overall having a banter with everyone else. Like I said, I wouldn't have been able to push through this year if it wasn't for my community, if it weren't for all of those people just rallying for me, powering through alongside me. And I'm very grateful to have all those people right behind my back, especially at a time like this. It's a very tough time for anyone, for not just for me, but for all the girls that was in part of this unfortunate event. And I'm very grateful that I have those people. And you can always follow me. My Discord server will be on my Instagram link in my bio. So if you are interested to come hang out with us and just overall spend time, come on. And
I would really recommend that. Your Discord server, it's an incredible level of access that you give to people to really
yeah,
see and understand the behind the scenes stuff of what it's like to
yeah.
be a race car driver. So I highly recommend people join your Discord server.
Yeah, it's I see myself as not just a racing driver whenever I'm in that Discord community. It's a space for me where I can just be a 17-year-old that loves to eat, loves to study, loves to draw, and I get to show that side of myself, that side of where I'm not just a driver. So it's really a great insight.
Excellent. Thank you very much for joining us,
Thank you
and
so
we hope to
much.
see you on track soon.
Me too. I would love to be on track soon again, hopefully. Thank you guys so much.
Excellent. Thank you.